A Dusty Transcendentalist. Ugh, this is disgusting, I said, raising a large bottle of bowel-stimulating soda to my mouth. My face cringed in expectation of the magnesium citrate. Just a little more, Alice said, sitting on my bed. I'm just gonna get it over with. I prepared myself for a huge gulp and began guzzling as much as I could before the urge to vomit overwhelmed me. Then I stopped abruptly, cupping my hand over my mouth as I dry heaved, and Alice laughed at me. Were you scared?
Yes, but the surgery feels quick, like the blink of an eye. It's all this stuff and then recovering, she replied.
I just can't wait to see my babies.
Your babies?
I have two. Sage is 3 years old and Michael is 6. They're with my mom right now, she smiled.
Wow, I bet you miss them.
Every minute, she propped herself up on her elbow and curled her long, slender legs up on their side. Everyone says they grow up fast, but no one tells you that it's so gradual you're going to forget they're growing up. There was never an end day when they were babies. I just looked one day and they weren't. No more baby. They'll never be babies again. And then no one told me they were going to stop being little tiny munchkins. Just one day, I turned around and they weren't tiny anymore. They were long, gangly kids. Maybe when I get back, they'll be different. I hate missing it. There's just this intense pain in my heart that grows bigger every day I'm away. I sensed her mood had changed. She looked like she was forcing back tears, so I stood up and walked over to the bed, placing my hand on her shoulder. When she saw I had come to comfort her, tears spilled from her eyes and her nose turned red. She sniffled, laughing at herself. Alice, you'll see them again soon, I said, kneeling down beside the bed. Don't worry. Anyway, I heard they never leave the house. She laughed. I heard that too. The next morning, I was directed into the surgery prep room and told to put on a cloth robe and lay myself on a cold electric bed to await surgery. Miss Bethany entered briefly to start an IV for me and then left me alone once again. But before long, someone knocked lightly on the door. You can come in, I said. A man entered dressed like a doctor. He was quite young for a doctor, about my age. He had just started balding, but his skin still had that soft, youthful finish of someone in their 20s.
Good morning. I will be your anesthesiologist,
he said, flashing me a friendly smile.
I see you have your IV started. That's good. I'm going to give you something that will put you into a deep sleep. You won't feel a thing. Is that okay?
Yes, I responded. He took out a small clear bag filled with liquid and connected it to the tube of my IV. I'm a little nervous, I said.
Oh, don't be.
I blinked my eyes and was suddenly in a different room, and a dull, achy pain throbbed in my abdominal area. I guessed that the surgery was over. It seemed like late afternoon as a cool breeze made the sheer white curtains in my room float like ghosts. I only had time to take in the fact I was in a different room than my usual before falling asleep. When I woke up again, it was evening, and a symphony of sound was being performed by the rhythmic hum of insects outside my window. I could feel the pang of hunger in my stomach, and the medication was wearing off, revealing a stinging sensation in my pelvic area that stabbed at my gut more than starvation. I searched the room, but couldn't make out any clear images yet, when I heard the soothing voice of a nurse at my bedside. Oh, hello, she said. Sorry to wake you. I was just checking your bandages. I brought you some dinner. Hi. I tried to lift my sore eyes open, and her blurry image focused in and out. Is the surgery over? Yes, everything went smoothly, she smiled. You may have some soup for now. We'll see how you do with that. We had a problem with your IV, so there'll be a small scar on your left arm. Don't worry about it. I looked down at the white gauze wrapped around my forearm and tried to lift myself up. Careful, she said, placing some pillows behind my back. You don't want to tear your stitches now. Yes, I said. The soup smelt delicious. She laid a wooden tray over my lap that had homemade chicken soup, some apple juice, and a cherry jello sitting on it. Did Alice visit me yet? I asked. Yes, but she's sleeping now. It's 11:30 at night, ma'am. Oh. I didn't know that much time had passed. "Just relax now. I'm sure she'll be by tomorrow." She gave me a shy smile and then left. The following night, they unhooked my catheter and encouraged me to walk. But sitting up with the nurse was such a feat that I really was not looking forward to my first real urination. Sure enough, after she left me my dinner, I had to use the restroom. Getting up was painful and the whole effort was excruciating and slow. The pee just trickled out in the bathroom, and as I walked back to bed, blood started seeping through my bandages. "Oh no," I said to myself. "Hello?" There was no one in earshot. I tossed a look towards my bed and imagined the nice white sheets stained with blood, so decided to go looking for someone down the hall. I opened up the door to my room and hollered down the hallway.
"Hello? Is anybody there?"
The long hallway was empty. Red carpet trailed off some 50 feet before veering left and right. Several doors to rooms were closed, and the occasional wooden lampstand decorated the otherwise vacant corridor. A distant telephone ringing reverberated from one of the rooms. Assuming it was a room occupied by a nurse or some kind of night staff, I walked up to the door and knocked lightly. "Hello?" The door was partially open, and when I knocked it swung ajar, revealing a small office with a desk stacked with piles of paper, an old-fashioned telephone, and a wooden pen holder. The walls were covered by shelves of old-fashioned books. Paperback and hardcover books had gone completely out of circulation by the 2030s in efforts to stop deforestation and slow the effects of global warming. I wiped away the dust from the spines of some of them and began reading their titles one by one. There were hundreds of classic novels by some of the greatest writers in our history and books about philosophy and sociology. I picked one of the books up and opened it to the first page. Civil Disobedience, an essay by Henry David Thoreau.
Something jumped out at me.
I leapt backwards, toppling over a stack of papers on the desk. It was a black cat who had been sleeping in the bookshelf and jumped down to rub itself against my leg. I stuffed the book into my white robe pocket and pet the cat as it stretched out its long body on the desk. "Hi," I greeted the cat, petting it under the ear and through its sleek black coat. "It's only you." Sighing, I carefully knelt on the floor and began picking up the papers and restacking them on the desk. The oozing blood from my bandage had begun to seep into my shirt. I tried to not let any drip on the floor. Treasury Department. I noticed the words at the top right corner of one of the stapled bundles. It seemed an odd correspondence for someone working as a rebel against the government. I skimmed through the rest of the files quickly to see if there was any connection or explanation, but only found unrecognizable lists of numbers and figures printed on each paper. Realizing I had stumbled onto something I probably shouldn't have, I put everything back as much as I could and quickly left the room. As soon as I closed the door behind me, the sound of heels materialized into Miss Bethany. She gasped at seeing me. "Miss Bethany," I stammered. "My bandage had started bleeding." Miss Bethany rushed towards me, taking my hand and turning me towards my room. "Come, ma'am," she said. "I will change you. You must stay in your room." She glanced at the door, as if for a moment wondering if I had been in the office, then pushed me down the hall.